Welcome to Seahawks Forever, powered by Fast Fashion Brewing. And my goodness, could I use a couple of fast fashion pints of beer right now? That was a tough one, you guys. The Seahawks dropped the opener 17-13 at home to the San Francisco 49ers, a game that they, for the most part, controlled through much of it. But this is going to be the focus of this show today. So as I'm watching the game, this is my notebook, and I had all these handwritten notes, little details and stats as I go through and little things I want to talk about. And then I can just throw this whole thing out because we're going to talk about big picture stuff. We're going to talk about concepts. And there's one thing that I didn't see today that we were promised we would see. We saw it in spurts, and when we saw it, it worked, and then they got away from it. I'll tell you what that is when we come back. This is Seahawks Forever.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Dan. Follow me on Twitter, of course, at Seahawks Forever. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up, the bell, all that stuff. All the ways you can support me as a full-time independent content creator are linked in and listed down below. Also want to welcome Sleeper and their sports app as a sponsor. They've got a great deal for you. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. And we'll review my picks and see how I've done so far through the weekend. All right, so here we go. The Seahawks are 0-1 to start the season there, and they start the season dead last in the NFC West. All the other three teams winning, although the Rams had a much tougher time than I thought they would have with the Texans, and it appears that the Cardinals, although I, of course, didn't watch that game closely, but a one-score win against a rebuilding New Orleans Saints team. I thought both those teams would win a little more easily. Keep a couple things in mind before we get into this. We say this every single year, and it is so true, and it's one of the reasons that so many people hate rivalry games week one. I'm not one of them. Like, I'm fine with it. Let's get into it, right? Week one tells the most lies. I think that's the old saying, right? And then week two tends to tell more of the truth. We see things in week one that are deceiving, that are illusions, right? Teams don't know what to study. There's a lot of coaching changes and a lot of player changes, obviously, and they don't know what tape to lean on and the game plans are a little bit tougher to put together. And so it also tends to lend itself to the most overreaction. And certainly if you've seen my live tweeting during the game, I can overreact in the minute as well. And that's the fan coming out in me. And then as soon as the game's over and you know what the result is, and I got to switch and put this hat on and do this, then I tend to switch over a little bit more onto the objective side. But I can see already a lot of you overreacting. It is a long, long season. It is a division that is going to beat the heck out of each other all the way through. I think this division is going to have multiple teams involved in it, and I think it's going to go all the way into December. This is a team that underwent a tremendous amount of change in the offseason on offense. It takes a while for those things to click. Maybe we got sucked in a little bit by the, again, illusion of what happened at the beginning of the season last year in Clint Kubiak's stint in New Orleans, where they scored 90 points the first 2 weeks. But here's the thing. I was going to go through a bunch of minutia, kind of compare the first half to the second half and look at some key metrics and things like that. My big picture view of this game is we were sold an identity. We were promised a different identity. Mike Macdonald was intent to go out after firing Ryan Grubb and Scott Huff and find an offensive coordinator to come in and run an offense and a scheme in such a way that complemented what he did on defense. We hear the word alignment when he talks about it a lot. And, I got more of an up-close personal look at that than I ever have in my career before getting to cover all of training camp. We were told every single day, we're going to run the football. It's going to be a balanced passing attack. We're going to work to some explosives, but we're going to spread the ball around. I formation, fullback, 12 personnel, 2-3 tight ends. Pound the rock. Be physical. Dictate terms. A different identity. And then we went out and saw it in action every single day on the field in training camp. We saw that offense have to go up against this defense. We saw how good that defense was again today. We'll talk about that, certainly. And we saw it take it to them at times. We heard the defensive guys say, it's different. It looks different. It feels different. In leading up to this game, the narrative on my channel for me and many of the guests that I've brought on is week 1 against the Niners. Like, this is the perfect opportunity to display that new identity, because to break free of this trend of the Niners dominating this series the last 3 years, now 6 of the last 7 they've won. Mike McDonald drops to 1-2 against them. That's how they've beat us. Running it down our throats, being physical, punching us in the mouth on defense. And we hadn't been able to respond. We weren't built to respond. And so the biggest failure today on the part of the Seattle Seahawks, and I put this on Clint Kubiak, is we didn't see that identity. I take that back. We saw it twice on 2 drives. And those drives led to 10 points in this game. The second drive of the game, where they went down, let's do a little screen share here. Let's go back and look at this. Second drive of the game. After the first drive, and let's talk about that.
I'm a fan.
Oh, gosh. Let's talk about that first drive for a moment. Hated the initial decision to you. First of all, kudos to me with Bryce last night. I said all the talk about running the football, we're going to throw it on the first play. They do. Darnold hits JSN over the middle, gets the offense going. And then they come out a couple of plays later at 2nd and 5. They bring Jalen Milroe out and they try just a quarterback, kind of a wildcat sneak up the middle, and it goes for nothing. And then we don't see Milroe the rest of the game. So I kind of agree with that part of it. Like, game script is always going to dictate how much, if at all, they use him. And this game script certainly didn't allow for him to come in. You weren't going to want that to happen when the offense was kind of scuffling later in the game. But I just thought, Sam came out, hit that first pass. Charbonnet gets a nice physical run up the middle. Now it's 2nd and 5. Let's keep it rolling. Now you're going to bring Milroe in. Nothing happens. Because as soon as San Francisco came out, it saw him. They loaded the box and they knew he was going to run the football. So I didn't like that. But they respond, right? After the defense gives up a 14-play, 95-yard, 8-minute drive. Now that, obviously, we saw the rest of the game. That's not indicative of the kind of defense we have. That's indicative of Kyle Shanahan, who is maybe, if not the best, one of the top 2 or 3 best opening script play callers in the league. We've seen him struggle in his career later in the game, and there were some examples of that here that Greg Olsen did a nice job of calling out in the second half. We've seen it cost Kyle Shanahan a Super Bowl ring before. How when he's off script, sometimes his decision-making isn't as good. Just a really efficient drive with Brock Purdy doing what he does best and managing it really well and playing point guard. It was hard to watch at first. It did feel like, I even tweeted it, here we go again. We get the ball to begin with. Quick offensive drive. We don't chew up any clock. We don't, sustain the drive. But then the response. 10 plays, 69 yards, 5 minutes. Seahawks go down and score the touchdown. And they did it the way they promised they were going to do it. We saw Rob Utes. We saw I formation. We saw under center. At one point, Greg Olsen pointed out, I think 15 of the first 17 plays were under center. And they used 7 different personnel groupings throughout that time. And I remember thinking, as we're watching it, as that drive concluded, this is what Clint Kubiak was hired for. And then it was as if Ryan Grubb's scan card never got deactivated, and he snuck back in the building and stole the call sheet and the headset from Kubiak and took over the game, because they just completely got away from all of that. 3 and out. 8 plays, 50 yards for a field goal at the end of the half. That was a really nice job with just a minute left of moving down the field. Really nice job from Sam Darnold there. They get the field goal to take the 10-7 halftime lead. And then second half, 3 and out, 5 plays, 26 yards, 3 and out, 8 plays, 34 yards for a field goal. And guess what? That 8-play, 34-yard drive, what did we see again? I tweeted it was as if Mike McDonald getting Clint Kubiak's ear. We saw Robbie Utes back there again. We saw under center. We saw fullback. They ran the football physically. And they got a field goal out of it, take the 13-10 lead. And then on the last drive, what up until that point, Michael Thompson, good friend of the show, a friend of mine, had dubbed the Jake Moody game. I mean, the 49ers are going to have a different kicker next week, right? Became the Reek Woolen game. And there's something to be said about these two plays that defined that winning drive for the 49ers that tie right into the narrative that I'm trying to present to you. Soft. On the first play, Ricky Pearsall, a little double move. He played it perfectly. Didn't fall for the little shimmy. Turned to find the ball and slowed up. But even though he slowed up a little bit, still had a chance to make a play on the ball. But the way he doesn't attack the football. He's in position, but he reaches for the ball so passively as if he's just playing lazy catch and he just expects it to fall right into his hands. And then on the winning touchdown drive, the exact same thing. That was when Brock Purdy threw that pass, I thought, game over. What's he doing? It was the same situation. Reek saw the ball, didn't attack it. Had that ball, at least had a PBU, but passively, softly, waited for it to come to his hands. Even on the pass breakup, to prevent the touchdown a couple drives earlier to Ricky Pearsall on the pylon. Great play. But even that one, he wasn't, when you look at the replay again, like, he just kind of flicked it away with his finger. I mean, that ball could have deflected off his hands and been a touchdown then, and it would have been a different game. We were promised a more physical team. And this was an opportunity to send that message to your most important rival in the division. I know I think the Rams still are the favorite to win this division. But also, as I said during the game, I don't know what I'm more guilty of, maybe overestimating how ready Clint Kubiak was to become a complete play caller, or underestimated what Robert Saleh was going to be able to do with that young defense with so many guys that they let walk out the door this offseason, some of their best players. Because, I mean, kudos to him. Like, that defense flew around more. They were more physical up front. But the thing that drives me crazy is we were promised something on offense and we didn't get it. And maybe he's talking about it right now. I just couldn't wait to see it. We'll deal with that tomorrow. That's not what Mike McDonald signed up for. That style of play, outside of those two drives that I described, the two scoring drives, that was very Grubb-like. A lot of screens. After the touchdown drive, the first one, which was keyed by Zach Charbonnet, and so we all thought, well, now we know what this is going to look like. It's not going to be Jahmyr Gibbs being running back 1, David Montgomery 2. It's Montgomery being the lead back and Gibbs 2. K9, the change of pace. It was Charbonnet, 6-yard runs. Charbonnet, 5-yard run. Charbonnet, 5-yard run. Then Ken Walker got a 4-yard run. Charbonnet, 4-yard run. Charbonnet, 4-yard run. Charbonnet gets stuffed. And then Charbonnet for the 1 yard and the touchdown. And then after that, Walker, 3 and out. Walker, 3 and out. Walker seemed to take over the lead back role. I actually thought maybe Charbonnet got hurt. It just made absolutely zero sense. And then because of that, we couldn't sustain drives, and so we couldn't see the rest of the playbook. We were going to see the ball be spread around. Tight ends didn't get involved. Arroyo had 1 catch. Barner had a catch for 0 yards. I think that's how it went. Like, all they did was not force it. He was open. Like, if there's, We're going to talk about some of the good stuff to come out of this game, but one of them certainly is a performance to Jackson Smith and Jigma because he was the only guy that Sam was looking for. And yet he caught 9 balls for 124 yards. Had the fumble. That was huge. Can't do that. Can't put the ball on the ground. But for those people who may have thought that, well, without DK there, JSN's not a number one. Like, he certainly was a number one. Cooper Kupp only had 2 catches, 15 yards. Nothing to Torrey Horton. There's the 1 catch for 7 yards to Arroyo, 1 catch for 0 yards to Barner, 3 catches, 4 yards for Kenneth Walker. But Kenneth Walker, 10 carries today for 20 yards, a 2-yard average. Charbonnet, 12 carries, 47 yards. It's inexcusable. It's criminal, really. Then on the other side, like, it's hard to fault the defense, right? Greg Olsen did such a good job, man. It sucks so bad that he got bumped by Tom Brady because he's better. I think he's one of the best analysts out there. Talked about how having Kittle out and then Juwan Jennings went out. And so Christian McCaffrey was all they had. And yet he beat us. I mean, it wasn't his most spectacular game. It wasn't prime Christian McCaffrey. His 22 carries, 69 yards, 3-yard average, but 9 catches, 73 yards, and an 8.1 yard average. But what Olsen talked about is like that Mike McDonald defense, and you guys need to get used to this if you haven't already. There's some bend don't break quality to it. He talked about it and made a really great point that his entire scheme is kind of built around getting to third and medium to long so that then he can really turn up the dial on some of his pressures and simulated pressures. But the run defense was so good early on, really for the whole game. They gave up, Purdy had 17 yards rushing, but they held him to 3.3 yard average. But when you knew in the second half that the only thing that they had was Pearsall and McCaffrey and you couldn't stop him, and then, then they let their backup tight end get loose a little bit later. I have no qualms about the defense other than Reek Woolen just doesn't look like a Mike McDonald corner. Everybody wants to talk about the run defense, but it's the ball production. It's the way he doesn't attack the ball, and it literally cost us a game today. There are other factors, of course. There was the roughing the passer penalty that kept their first drive alive. That would have been a field goal attempt, and the way Moody was today, maybe he misses it, but that could change the game script there. But it was so early in the game. I'm just baffled by those two things. How they couldn't do a better job of having someone with CMC in the passing game in the second half, and the lack of identity, how they got away from everything they told us they were going to do and demonstrated. Like that offense we saw against Kansas City in the preseason. Yeah, preseason, right? But it's the approach. There's execution and there's approach. Sometimes the approach can be perfect and you just can't execute. And sometimes the other team has something to do with that because they're trying to win too. But it's the approach. If they had stuck to who they are, who they're supposed to be, stuck to that approach and lost this game, I'd probably be sitting here saying, you know what? Hats off to the 49ers. This team still has some growing to do. This offense still has some growing to do. Now, let's talk about some positives because there are quite a few positives. Seahawks only allowed 1 sack on the day, and it was the last play of the game that won it, with Abe Lucas getting beat by Nick Bosa. He's an elite player. He's going to win sometimes. He's going to win sometimes. I don't want to hear anyone say, oh, we just paid Lucas for that. Because you know what? Did you see Derek Hall beating Trent Williams today? It happened quite a bit. One of the constant themes throughout the game that Olsen kept talking about is like the pressure rate was good. We didn't get home enough. We only ended up with the 1 sack, Julian Love. But 8 quarterback hits on the day. But our offensive line only allowed 2 quarterback hits and 1 sack. I thought the pass protection was pretty darn good. It's just the play calling didn't really allow them to get to some other things in the offense and allow Sam to kind of spread the ball around. I thought Sam was okay considering the circumstances. Like I think Kubiak just got away from the script or had the wrong script. That was a real bummer. Defensively, though, Julian Love led the team with 10 tackles. Devin Witherspoon was kind of all over the place, 8 tackles. Of course, we had a couple of interceptions. Josh Jobe, great play. I thought Josh Jobe played a really good game. And I think as we move forward now with this defense, that the question may very well become, does Reek lose reps? We saw it happen last year at times. Does Josh Jobe start to get more starter reps? Does Shaq Griffin get a chance to work himself into that? Because that was really, really disappointing. And then they do need to get home more, for certain. But they came up with some big stuffs in short yardage. But then one last point before I get to we'll just the give and take, and we'll talk, right? We're going to talk, you guys. We're going to talk it out. But it goes into that identity of who they're going to be: aggressive, physical, dictate terms. Why don't you go for it on 4th down with 3.5 minutes left or whatever it was, with a yard to go, when your defense is playing as well as it is, knowing that if you get stuffed, it's still tied. There's 3.5 minutes. San Francisco has to go 90 yards without Kittle, without Jennings. I don't really get that. We saw in the preseason, we saw them work on a tush-push type sneak. Could have done that because Olsen pointed out during the game, it was less than a yard. How do you not go for that? And I said it at the time. And so I have texts to prove it. It's not revisionist history because they made the field goal and go, oh, well, I guess that's all right. We're still going to win it because we should have. And then kudos to, I thought Sam was great coming down, moving them down the field. I think if it wasn't for that sack, I think they figure out a way. I think they score. I think they win. It's a real bummer. Bummer, you guys. All right. What do you got? What do you got? Yeah, it did, when you get down there that close where they called the throw, like, and this might be some revisionist history. Like if you're going to be who you want to be, maybe I like to see him run it there, but I got to remind myself, sometimes I'm not like those. Oh, shut up. I hate when that's what I hate about the ESPN site. Yeah, it was 3:42 left. Hold on, guys. It was 2nd and 5. Yeah, it was 2nd and 5, 42 seconds left. He still had the timeout. I would have liked to see them. You have to score a touchdown. Still run the ball there. I formation, Robbie Utes lead blocking, Charbonnet in there. The other thing we didn't see today that we were promised a lot of is not enough of Darnold on the move. But on the field goal drive, right, where they had to go down and score quick, I thought that was a brilliant call with the design, just the outside run from Darnold. That was great. Or maybe it might have been a read. But the play action boot stuff, we didn't see enough of that. I would have liked to have seen that, especially in that situation. I think that would have worked really well as well. So I think, overall theme of the day, not the identity that Mike McDonald promised us. Not a great debut for Clint Kubiak and Rick Woolen. There's a reason that they haven't tried to sign him to an extension before his 4th year this year. Mike McDonald likes to say, you got to be physical to play corner for him. And that doesn't just mean coming up and taking on blocks and tackling guys. It means attacking the football. He had 2 opportunities himself to put this game away today, and he failed at both of them, and it cost him the game. Sorry, clicked on the wrong one. Yeah, why did Kubiak call the game that way, Morgan? I don't know. He did for 2 drives. And I don't know why he got away from it. It made absolutely no sense. I just don't know. I mean, this is a real debatable point, Hero. I'm sure Mike's probably already talked about it by now. But it was less than a yard. Your offensive line had shown at times throughout the game you could get some push. You put the fullback in there, or you do, your designed tush push kind of play, because we saw that from them. They have that in their bag now. Why not there? I just, Martin, hope it improves. And that's the thing. So again, so much overreaction, right? I've already seen people say we hired the wrong guy. Reek should be cut. I've seen that. Trade, you want to talk about that? Maybe we get close to the trade deadline. You might be onto something there. But it's a 17-game season. There's a lot of football left to be played. And again, I think this division is going to stay pretty close to each other. Yeah, he played, but mostly only on those 2 drives. And then they kind of got away from it. You saw DeMarcus Lawrence. Man, his presence was felt. And Leo Williams. I will say this though, a lot of fans out there want to blame that roughing call on a bad call, and we got screwed by the refs. In today's NFL, that is a roughing the passer the call 100 times out of 100, and has been for about the last 5 years. That's on Leo. He should have known that. The play was over. The play was won. Didn't impact the play at all. It was well after. It wasn't like one of those situations where he's getting blocked and he turns around and he doesn't see what's going on. It was right in front of him. He saw it all. That was on Leo. And I think he'd probably be the first to admit it if he hasn't already. No, Rockman, the worst possible outcome would be a bunch of injuries. And the only one that came out of today that I know of is Nick Emenwari, which that was a real shame too. And we didn't get to see what the plan was, because clearly he was a huge part of it. And third play of the game, I think it was, he comes up on the third down on that big run stop, and he's physical, and stuffs the guy, and then sprains his ankle, and he reaches down and grabs it. I said on Twitter, I'm like, that looks like high ankle. I hope it's not. He did jog back out onto the field at one point, and the crowd was cheering, and it looked like maybe he was going to go back in. So maybe we get lucky, and that's not, because sometimes those severe high ankle sprains can be 4 to 6 weeks. Doesn't look like that. Maybe it's a week-to-week thing, but he was such a big part of the plan. Now, maybe his role in the plan was mitigated slightly because George Kittle ends up getting hurt and missing the rest of the game too. And I think a lot of his responsibility was going to be on covering Kittle. Glass, too much shotgun, runs out of the shotgun. And in my opinion, too much Ken Walker. It just completely, it looked like, conversely, where I said, Shanahan is one of the best opening script writers and play callers in the league. It looked like Kubiak's script on that second drive was pretty damn good too. He didn't have a chance to get into his script on that first drive. But he's clearly got some work to do as far as adjusting to the flow of the game after that. Chase, I don't want to pick on you here, okay? If our offense continues to be the way it was today, our wins are going to be all defense against poor offenses and have no chance of the playoffs. There's 16 games left. Teams get better. I am telling you, because I saw it every day in training camp, the pieces are there for this to be a good offense. Is it going to be an elite offense, one of the best in the league? Probably not. But can it be a top 10 to 15? Yeah. And that's going to be plenty good enough with this defense for this team to contend. New left guard, new center, new fullback, 2 new wide receivers, new tight end, new offensive coordinator, new offensive line coach, new run game coordinator. See what I'm getting at? New quarterback coach. Like, those things typically take some time. What happened in New Orleans last year was the anomaly. It was the exception to the rule. I expect this offense to get better, because what have we seen? The one thing among many that we know about Mike Macdonald so far is he will attack problems. If he thinks Clint Kubiak's play calling was a problem today, he'll address it. If he thinks Reek Woolen was an issue today, he will address that as well. Shane, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it. D was great. Oh, it has some work to do. I mean, that's the bottom line. Look, we get emotional. It's what we love about this game. It is so emotional. And it was such a roller coaster. You guys, I was sitting here the whole game just on pins and needles. And you know, you have a lot of I'm too old for this shit kind of moments during games like that, where it's like I try to just kind of visualize and project, like, you know, just when the clock strikes 0, they can win this game. The sad part is I think they should have. If there's any 49er fans out there or players pounding their chest because they came into Lumen Field and beat they should feel very fortunate that they're walking away with the win here. And I think that they probably do. Martin says, felt sorry for Darnold today. He was good, but we didn't run the damn ball well enough. Defense was okay, but sick of Woolen with those brain fart plays. And to me, these weren't brain farts. I guess they are, because they are decisions. They're choices. To me, it's a mentality and a mindset, and maybe it's just might not be in his personality. Like, even the way, like, when Devin Witherspoon talks, you can almost feel the aggression in his personality. Reek's very laid back, and he plays the ball that way, and that's a big, big problem. Let me do this real quick, you guys. Let's just check in. So, a little update. Started off so bad. It really, really did. Here, let me do this. Get this off the screen as well. Like, it looked like in the early window that I might not get any games right in these picks. 7-4 so far, though, with a couple of games left to go. Kind of rallied some comeback wins. There were some really great games in the early window. It was fun in the early window to flip back and forth on DirecTV and watch Pete and Gino. Gino was great today. To watch DK in Pittsburgh, right? And oh, by the way, Aaron Rodgers can still play. 4 touchdown passes today. I had them winning that game, but I said Rodgers would be just good enough to beat the Jets. He was a little bit better than that. They're going to be a formidable opponent next week. And then you flip over and you see Bobby playing for the Commanders and Russ starting for the Giants. Like, it was kind of fun to just kind of flip around. But I do this on the Sleeper app, and here's the Sleeper app is a lot of fun. I played it for the first time last year with the guys from 12 Talk. We did a best ball league. I stunk at it. Actually, I gave up on it late in the season just because of life. And I went back and refreshed myself on it just to see how bad I was. Didn't even realize I won the consolation bracket. I won the toilet bowl in that. So I finished strong. But you can do that. You can play best ball leagues. You can play fantasy football leagues. There's daily fantasy sports. There's live stats and updates. There's chat. So you can get together as fans instead of just playing the games. There are paid pay for play games. They are in 25 states at the moment, but you can do everything else. It's not just an app for that. And I just love doing the picks. Now, I want to put this out there to you guys, and I'll do this also on the YouTube community and all the other ways, the other platforms where you might follow me. But I can build a league, and y'all can get in it, and y'all can get in it for free. And we can do these picks every week if you'd like to. This could be kind of fun, and we can track it on a weekly basis. But it's Sleeper app, #1 fastest growing app out there right now. And right now, if you sign up, they will match you 100% on your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions do apply. It is legal in 25 states to do that, but all the other games are open there for you. Look for more details soon on a league, on a Seahawks Forever league, and we'll get that going. And thank you to the folks from Sleeper for being a sponsor of the program. How do you guys feel about Cal hit another home run today? How do you guys feel about the matchup against Steelers now? And again, back to my original point, like, it's really hard to tell because we don't know from 1 week to the now. Mike McDonald gets to watch all that tape and knows how Arthur Smith is going to use Aaron Rodgers and how they're going to approach that. They didn't run the ball particularly well today. But they do have a solid offensive line. They've invested pretty heavily in that in the last couple of years. It was nice to see Troy Fatano out there again, recovered from the knee injury, the former Husky. We know that defense is going to be good. DK kind of had a sort of a pedestrian type game. Let's do a little stat checking here. Refresh myself on this. DK today, 4 catches, 83 yards. Just looking at the Steelers for next week. So Rodgers, 22 out of 30, 244 yards. He mostly managed the game. I watched quite a bit of it, but what I did see is he is still really good in the middle of the field, getting rid of that ball quickly and throwing it into tight windows. And that's something that Brock Purdy had some success doing today. And that middle of the field thing is something that they need to solve. They're going to have to get some pressure on him too, because he certainly cannot move around the way that he used to. But here's the key when I look forward to next week, and we'll obviously get much more into the Pittsburgh matchup side of this as we get into the week. But that New York offense was able to move the football. Justin Fields, 16 out of 22 for 218 yards and a touchdown. And they ran the football. Breece Hall, 19 carries, 107 yards. Fields had 48 yards on the ground. They ran for 182 yards, an average of 4.7 per carry. Garrett Wilson had 7 catches for 95 yards. Some other guys contributed as well. But that Pittsburgh defense gave up some yards to a Jets offense that's got a new coordinator and a lot of new pieces there. Again, if the Seahawks can get to what they're supposed to do, and you know, the engine that's supposed to make that offense hum is the running game, I think there would be an opportunity to do that. As we look around, let me just take a quick check here. I did just want to see what the Cardinals game looked like, since I didn't watch it because it was going on at the same time. Looks like Kyler Murray had a very workmanlike point guard type game, which I think is his game now. I think if you're going to get the most out of him, that's what it's going to look like. 21 out of 29, 163 yards, just a 5.6 average, a couple of touchdowns, no picks. And he ran it 7 times for 38 yards. That's kind of who Kyler Murray is now. Marvin Harrison, 5 catches, 71 yards and a touchdown. Like, the offense didn't go off. Spencer Rattler threw it 46 times for 214 yards. My goodness. They did hold Alvin Kamara to 11 carries, 45 yards. That Cardinal team might be pretty solid. And then I really was surprised that the Rams, what the final score end up being there. Hang on, you guys. Sorry about this. They went 14-9 against a Houston team that I thought that offensive line was going to be a real problem for them. And I thought that defensive front was going to cause all sorts of problems for the Rams. But they only ended up with 3 sacks of Stroud. 1 for Byron Young, 1 for Tyler Davis, 1 for Jalen McCullough. Not a single sack for either Braden Fisk or Jared Verse. That is interesting to me. So Matthew Stafford, 21 out of 29. Nice, efficient day, 245 yards and a touchdown. Made it through the whole game healthy. Kyren Williams, 18 carries, 66 yards. So I think every team right now in the NFC West, except for the 49ers, and even they, probably not really happy. Like, nobody came out of week 1 flying high, feeling like they're going to control this division, which I do think, again, speaks to what this division is going to look like as we move forward. Let's see here. It looked like a Pete offense, not a Kubiak offense. Those 2 drives look like Kubiak, and then the rest of it looked like Grubb to me. Jay Harbaugh's taken some heat from fans over the last couple of weeks. Thought it was a good special teams game. Like, there weren't any big impactful plays. They blocked a field goal. Torrey Horton had a nice punt return, like a 13-yard return at one point, right? It was interesting to see him be the number 1 punt returner. Glass activist, McDonald needs to cover McCaffrey like a wide receiver when he splits wide. Nuts playing against him the way we did. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear his explanation of that. Of course, he's not going to get too much into exactly how they approach that, but and Cody White on the kickoff returns, right? Instead of any of the running backs, they went with the receivers. Yeah, Worst Jen says, Purdy can't be stopped when he plays this. This was his worst game against the Hawks, and he still won. He gave us opportunities. He did indeed. Bishop says Woolen needs to go. Adam Baum says Woolen sucks. It's Todd Smith says Reek will get smoked if he has to cover Metcalf next week. Do you think Metcalf's that tough to cover? Like, he's still not a good route runner, right? And the thing about DK is he doesn't go up and high point the ball either. So that might actually play into Reek's hands. If there's a ball up for grabs, Reek might have a shot at it. It drives me crazy how he doesn't go get the football. We saw Job do that on his interception. Maybe he should be starting, right? Yeah. Big Monkey says the replacement of DK and Seahawks didn't do crap. Yeah, Cooper Kupp only had 2 catches and he dropped a ball on 3rd down. That is very, very unlike him. But it's not always just apples to apples, right? He wasn't just brought in to be a straight up replacement of DK. DK goes out, JSN becomes the number 1 receiver. Kupp's going to be the complimentary guy. It's all going to work in together. It's not really that kind of offense, but I do see your point. Martin says, I think the Steelers game will be close, but I do think we can beat them. The Jets ran the ball well on them today. Here's what I'll say about next week as we wrap this up, and then I want to get to the interviews and hear what all the coaches and players have to say, and then we'll do a deeper dive tomorrow where we can look at all of that kind of put together. We're going to find out how they respond. I know that sounds cliche, but that's life in the NFL on a weekly basis. We're going to find out how, I was going to say Mike McDonald, but like defense was good. We're going to find out how Clint Kubiak responds, and we're going to find out how Reek Woolen responds, or if he gets an opportunity to respond. But I want to end on this because there are a lot of positives. What do we talk about all offseason? And all the analysts said Seahawks aren't going to be very good this year again, blah, 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 because offensive line. That line was good enough to win with. Sam had time to operate. Did they blow holes open on every running play? No. Were there a couple plays in the first half where Bradford got beat? Yeah. But as a whole, 1 sack, last play of the game from an elite player, beating a good player one-on-one, that's going to happen. Like they did a really nice job against Bosa the whole game, and then he got him at the end. We're going to have games like that too. Leonard Williams is going to make a play at the end. You know, we almost had it today. Julian Love made a play. Josh Jobe made a play. Like, we're going to get ours too. Try not to overreact. Don't give up on this team. The pieces are still there. They just didn't put them all together week 1. Thanks again to Fast Fashion Brewing. If any of you happen to stop by before the game, well, probably not, because you probably wouldn't be on the live feed right now. If you're at the game, you're out going home, or maybe you're at Fast Fashion right now. But shout out to Matt Storm over there. Check in with those guys if you get a chance. Soto, First Avenue, right across the street from Showbox Soto. Fantastic beers down there. Really appreciate them being a sponsor. Shout out to Sleeper. Check out that app and the deal that is linked down below as well. Also will be in a pinned comment. And then all the other ways you can support me as a full-time independent content creator are listed and linked down below as well. As we move through this week, a couple things to look for. Tomorrow we'll take a look back at everything that McDonald says. We'll get some injury updates. We'll kind of set the stage again and start looking ahead to the Steelers. Look for my Dan's Dandy play of the week. I'm bringing this back 30 years later, bringing it back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll see it. It'll be for members and Patreon. Maybe I'll make the first one available to everyone just for fun, except it's going to include a piece of all 22, and so maybe I can't do that. We'll see how that goes, but just keep an eye out for that. And then Bryce and I will get together and do the Hawks Film Lab. We'll choose an important aspect of the game today. I think I have an idea what it's going to be, but stay tuned for that as well. Daily content for me. I'm Dan. Follow me at Seahawks Forever. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So close to 11,000 subs. Would love to get there. Thanks for joining me, you guys. Really appreciate it. It's been a long day. I've got a bit of a cold. I'm going to go rest up. Enjoy yourselves. Forever and always. Go Hawks. Thanks for watching.